Venezuelan authorities held a press conference to provide updates ahead of the upcoming first Agro-Alba Fair. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Hill announced preparations for the Great Agro-Alba Expo Fair to be held this Thursday, June 5th and Friday, June 6th. Hill explained that this innovative integration mechanism of ALBA TCP aims to promote productive investment and strengthen food sovereignty, promoting sustainable development. According to the International Center for Productive Investment, Agro-Alba lays the foundations for inclusive and sustainable economic development for the benefit of the region and the promotion of Petrocaribe and ALBA TCP.
El AgroAlba, como ustedes saben, es una iniciativa que surgió por idea.
AgroAlba, as you know, is an initiative that arose from the Presidential Summit on December 14, 2024, when we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of Our America. The presidents, heads of state and governments, and prime ministers called for the creation of this initiative, which kicks off with all ALBA member countries and beyond to produce, invest, and create a shield, we could say, of food security and sovereignty for ALBA, for the Caribbean, and for the Latin American region.
El ALBA para el Caribe y para la región latinoamericana.
Secretary General of the Bolivarian Alliance, Jorge Arreaza, said they expect to meet Agro-Alba's goals to meet the needs of all ALBA countries.
Como decía el canciller de Venezuela.
As I say to the Venezuelan foreign minister, the ALBA Secretariat is very grateful for this proposal from President Nicolás Maduro. We already had the president of Petrocaribe as a great tool for the development of countries and for generosity and cooperation. In that same spirit, Agro-Alba is being created so that we can use those 58 million hectares of land in all our countries and the waters of all our countries to produce food and to meet our needs.
Para producir alimento para satisfacer nuestras necesidades.
The National Assembly of Venezuela passed in first discussion the bill that approved the Convention on the Creation of the International Organization for Mediation, IOMED. In accordance with the provisions of Article 104 of the Rules of Procedure and Debates of the National Assembly, the Venezuelan legislature in ordinary session approved the bill for the creation of the IOMED, an alliance aimed at the solution of conflicts of any nature and framed in respect for the self-determination of peoples. In this sense, President Nicolás Maduro emphasized that Venezuela will be a pioneer in the creation of this law on the International Mediation Organization promoted by the People's Republic of China and signed in alliance with 33 other countries.
In consideration, the honorable deputies who are in disposition to approve, in first discussion, the bill approving the Convention on the Creation of the International Organization for Mediation, in accordance with the provisions of Article 104 of the Internal Regulations and Debates of the National Assembly, please manifest it with the customary sign. It is hereby approved. Consequently, it is declared approved in first discussion, the bill of the Convention on the Creation of the International Organization for Mediation, and it is referred to the Permanent Commission of Foreign Policy, Sovereignty, and Integration for the purpose of the preparation of the corresponding report, in accordance with the provisions of Articles 39, numeral 2 and 104 of the Internal Regulations and Debates of the National Assembly.
Likewise, the President of the National Assembly of Venezuela declared that IOMED is the opposite of the multilateral organization that served the interest of U.S. imperialism in its offensive against the peoples.
This is very auspicious news for the purposes of the new international order and the new geopolitics based on a multipolar world, because all these so-called multilateral organizations are not multilateral. They are nothing but gendarmes and prosecutors, the U.S. empire, to attack and mistreat the peoples, and sooner rather than later. We have to overcome all of that and create new organizations that can serve their purposes, such as communicating with the peoples and seeking peaceful solutions to existing controversies.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum called on the Mexican people to look ahead following the arrival of new members of the nation's Supreme Court of Justice. The head of state pointed out that the work of those who leave the country's top court should be reviewed, but that it should not be a matter of persecution. She highlighted the autonomy of the judiciary and that the new members must ensure true access to justice without conditions or persecution. The president also declared that as of September, the new members must ensure an environment of honesty, truthworthiness, and true access to justice.
No deben llegar a ser un asunto de persecución.
That shouldn't be an issue of persecution. However, they should focus on the access to justice, and if they find any problem, then they should file an administrative or even criminal complaint, if that would be the case. But I believe that we must look ahead, because the people of Mexico is expecting from this new judicial power is to have a completely different access to justice. So goes the saying, he who owes nothing fears nothing.
Pues el que debe, el que nada debe, nada teme.
On the other hand, the Mexican president described the judicial elections as an unprecedented democratic exercise despite the intentions of some sectors to downplay the process.
Entonces, ¿cómo pueden decir que fue poca gente 13 millones? Es un ejercicio inédito.
How can they say that 13 million people were not enough? That was an unprecedented event. It's twice the number of people who voted for the ex-president's trial, which were only 6.6 million. Now, 13 million people is much better than 128 senators. There is no comparison.